Greetings. Pending Exeter Township School Board approval on Tuesday, July 21st, the marching band will move forward with in-person, on-campus, voluntary summer rehearsals to get ready for our fall season. As information is changing from day to day, it is important to stay connected with the band's main sources of communication during the summer. We utilize social media accounts on Facebook, follow us at Exeter Township Music Department, and Instagram, Exeter SHS Band, all one word, as well as good old Skyward email. Once Schoology classes are rolled over, I will use that platform as well. Don't forget to go to the band's webpage for the complete band events calendar, a new COVID-19 guidance tab, as well as a tab for marching band information complete with music downloads, audio files, handbook information, and more. Now on to the fun stuff. The reason you are viewing this video is because you have to. This is an educational session mandatory for participation for in-person rehearsals. It is important that you also read in its entirety the ETSD Restarting Guide and Health and Safety Plan for Marching Band. I will be reviewing the main points with you. In order to return to school to participate in rehearsals, both the student and a parent or guardian must sign the waiver that will be included in the restarting guide. The signed waiver must be turned in to myself at the beginning of the student's first in-person rehearsal. Additionally, a health questionnaire must be done, and a health screening, including a temperature check, will be performed prior to the start of the student being allowed to attend rehearsal. Now, before I begin, our district is very aware that information pertaining to COVID-19 is changing from day to day and week to week. It is important to remember that the 2 rehearsals in July and the mini camp in August is voluntary, as it's always been. The status of band camp is yet to be determined, but we are planning to move forward as planned. If by the end of this video you do not feel comfortable with the safety information and the health policies we have in place, do not feel guilty for not attending rehearsals. Your choice to participate in our pre-season rehearsals is entirely up to you and your parents. We hope to see you at rehearsals, but please make the best choice for yourself. Be safe and be healthy. Okay. So I'm going to go over some of the key points from the ETSD Restarting Guide Health and Safety Plan for Marching Band, which is hopefully to be board approved on Tuesday, July 21st, so that we can have our first in-person rehearsal on Wednesday, July 22nd from 6 to 8 p.m. As I go over this information, it is important to understand that these rehearsals are voluntary. Okay. It's important to understand what the symptoms for COVID-19 are. I'm well aware that many of us have been inundated with a lot of this information, but just in case you do not know, you need to know, okay? You can go to the Pennsylvania Department of Health's webpage for a list of symptoms, and the symptoms can be all of them, it could be a couple of them. It varies from person to person. It also varies how severe each person reacts to the virus, okay? So a list of these symptoms may include fever, cough, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, diarrhea, chills, repeated shaking with chills, muscle pain, headache, sore throat, new loss of taste or smell. You can also log on to this webpage and you'll find a link to go to the CDC symptoms guide checker, and it will help you make decisions on what to do next and how to seek appropriate medical care. All right. So please visit the Pennsylvania Department of Health's webpage, which will be linked in this video. Again, attendance. Student, musician, and staff attendance for summer rehearsals is optional. Attendance will be kept for safety reasons or in order to track student, musicians, and instructors' contact in the case of a suspected COVID-19 case. I will be reviewing what happens in the event that if a member contracts COVID-19 and we have to go through that process. Prior to every rehearsal, we will have a health screening. At the beginning of every event scheduled, including small group sectionals, full rehearsals, and performances with the organization, a health screening must take place for all students, staff, and necessary volunteers. You can see a sample of what this health screening form will look like in the appendix of the restarting guide. It'll ask a variety of yes or no questions, including does the student or staff member have had a fever, a cough, contact with anybody with COVID-19. It also asks if the student or staff member has recently visited any of the hotspot states listed on the Pennsylvania Department of Health's travel restricted states. Okay, so if anyone were to have traveled to that state, we are asking you to stay home and self-isolate up to 14 days from the time that you arrive home before coming on campus. All right. Any person with symptoms of COVID-19 will not be allowed to participate in rehearsal and should contact a primary care provider. Vulnerable individuals, as defined by the CDC, should not oversee or participate in any rehearsals that take place during the yellow phase. These individuals must practice physical distancing and limited social interactions during the green phase. Okay. All staff members and volunteers working with the band must wear a face covering at all times unless doing so jeopardizes their health. Our student performers are also strongly encouraged to wear masks at any point when they are not active in rehearsal and or the performance process. Gator style face coverings are recommended for all members as they are easy to remove off the face when playing an instrument is needed. Gator style coverings can be described as a type worn around the neck and easily pulled to cover the face when needed. You can also use the traditional face masks that loop around the ears or around the back of the head and pull that down around your chin when not in use. There are also masks that are now being produced that have slits in them because the NFHS guidelines for aerosol studies were recently released. And for an indoor setting, masks with a slit in them for a mouthpiece are also being made and are available, or you can make them yourselves. For every instance when a mask is not going to be fully covering a student's mouth, that student needs to be at a 6-foot distance from everyone else, including when a mask has a slit in it or an opening. This directive applies for both indoor and outdoor rehearsals. In addition to face masks, and this mostly applies to the indoor rehearsal setting, pending that our school year starts on time on August 24th, we are looking into purchasing bell coverings for our instruments so that we are being as safe as possible in not spreading the contact of aerosols in the air. Bell coverings may also be uniform so that we can possibly use them in the music stand in the stadium as well. So we are looking into face masks, again, with slits. We want you to have either a gator style or a traditional face mask. And the band is looking into purchasing bell coverings for instruments to minimize any exposure of aerosols in the air. There is a full study that can be read up by the National Federation of State High Schools if you are interested in finding out more information about what this aerosol study has proven. During band camp and during any rehearsals, we are not going to be providing meals, unfortunately, for this year, as understood. And everybody will need to bring their own snacks and their own water for the entire time that they are to be on campus. Students are not going to be allowed to use water fountains or sinks to fill up their water bottles. Again, students must be providing their own water for the entire duration of their rehearsal. And during band camp, we will not be providing meals. During rehearsal, we are not going to be going into the building unless absolutely deemed necessary. Rehearsals will be 100% outside during the yellow or green phases, and the use of large tents or overhead canopy spaces will be strongly encouraged. So if you have one of those large party tents, or if you are a part of a party planning organizations for weddings or outdoor events, we would really love your help with this. If you have those large canopies for camping or for your backyard, we would really appreciate use of those during our rehearsals, so that the event that there's an overhead, a passing shower or something, we can still play outside without having to go indoors. Exceptions to this are that if we are to go indoors, we will be limiting the number of students in our large group classrooms, such as the orchestra room, band room, and choir room. We will only be limiting 25 students in a 6 by 6 foot distance in those classrooms, which also includes the instructor. The auditorium will be limited to 75-person max capacity in the event that we need to move ourselves indoors due to inclement weather, whether during rehearsals or during band camp. However, the plan is to stay 100% outside as best we can. We'll be designating a drop-off pickup plan prior to the first rehearsal so that we can have students being dropped off in various sections. We are going to be keeping our students in sections so that we can help mitigate the spread of anything amongst our students. Parents are not allowed to leave their cars, so when you are dropping off your student, your child, please remain within your vehicle. We will not be using parents for any volunteer items at this point in time. Students must transport their individual instruments to and from every rehearsal. And for students that play large instruments, for example, drumline equipment, mallet percussion, sousaphones, we will be utilizing either the music truck or one of the wings as a possible site for storing equipment and for easy access so that students are not walking around the school. If a student must enter the building to retrieve equipment, the doors will be propped open for the duration of the retrieval window. If possible, one door will be used as an entrance and another as an exit to maintain a one-way flow and minimize contact. During rehearsals, all students must keep their individual belongings and their instrument kept to one 6 by 6 foot contained space. So if we are performing outside and just working on music, you are in your 6 foot by 6 foot space. And if we are on the field in a block, you will be at minimum at a 3-step distance, which is 6 feet. A 3-step distance at an 8 to 5 size step is 6 feet. Each participant must again bring their own water bottles and drinks to all activities. Recommended sanitation procedures for instruments and equipment. So individuals should wash their hands for a minimum of 20 seconds with warm water and soap before touching any surfaces or participating in rehearsals. So please wash your hands, and why not bring your own hand sanitizer so that you can have it in your pocket when you need it. All right, you can have the spray kind or you can have the gel kind. All right, as long as it has a minimum of the alcohol needed to kill the germs, which I believe is 60 or 70%. All right. Hand sanitizer will be provided by the district and will be available within our rehearsal spaces also as needed if you do not have your own. Shared musical equipment will be wiped down with alcohol prep pads throughout thoroughly before and after individuals' use. This includes anytime equipment is transported from one location to another. Students are also encouraged to shower and wash their rehearsal clothing immediately upon returning home. So we are practicing good hygiene habits. We have a few instrument cleaning guidelines as provided by the National Federation of State High Schools. You can also find this on the National Association for Music Education. It is important to understand that each individual instrument has a different way of addressing its cleaning natures. So for the most part, you can use a concentrate or a Sтерosol liquid used with 16 ounces of water. Basically, you can mix one little capful of this with 16 ounces of water and use it to clean your instrument. This is a very effective use. I got this on Guitar Center's website for $3.99. This is an 8-ounce bottle. Again, this is the concentrate variety, so you wouldn't spray this directly on your instrument. You would dilute it with water. You can also use for mouthpieces a vinegar and water mix. You can use alcohol spray, alcohol prep pads to clean down instruments, and just be careful of instruments with cork, and make sure that you check out the instrument guidelines for individual cleaning those items. It's also important to note that if a virus happens to land on an instrument, for brass instruments, it will stay on for 5 days before dying. For wooden instruments, I believe it's 4 days before dying. Plastics, 3 days. Cork, 2 days, and so on. If an instrument hasn't been touched since closing, the instrument is fine. We don't need to go through any special cleaning procedures. We're just going to clean it as normal, okay? So for example, the sousaphones that have been in school before the shutdown, they can be cleaned as usual, as they would usually be cleaned with mouthpiece cleaner and alcohol. Again, if you are showing signs of COVID-19, we ask that you stay home and to self-isolate until your symptoms have relieved. Student musicians or instructors who appear to have symptoms or who become sick during the day will be immediately separated from other student musicians and staff and instructed to return home. If a student musician displays symptoms, the athletic trainer or administrator on duty will contact the parent or guardian. A symptomatic student musician will be managed as a presumptive COVID-19 positive case, and all precautions will remain in place until testing confirmation is received. Student musicians who are presumed or confirmed COVID-19 positive cannot report to campus until cleared to do so by a physician in writing and by meeting the criteria listed in the document for restarting band. A resolution of a fever without use of fever-reducing medications, and improvement in respiratory symptoms, for example, cough or shortness in breath. And they must have negative results of an FDA emergency use authorized COVID-19 test, or the student musician is symptom-free for 72 hours without the use of medication, and at least 10 days have passed since the symptoms have first appeared. When a positive test is confirmed, and when to seek medical attention. Look for emergency warning signs for COVID-19. If someone is showing any of the following signs, seek emergency medical care immediately. If they are having trouble breathing, they have persistent pain or pressure in the chest, new confusion, an inability to wake or stay awake, or bluish lips or face, please contact emergency medical care immediately. This list is not of all possible symptoms. Please call your medical provider with any other symptoms that are severe or concerning to you. If a student musician tests positive for COVID-19, they are to self-isolate until 10 days from the onset of symptoms and 72 hours of being symptom-free without medications. If a student athlete or a musician has been in close contact with someone who has tested positive for COVID-19 or has a family member that lives with them that has tested positive for COVID-19, the student musician should inform the Exeter Township athletic trainer, coaches, or administrators and quarantine for 14 days. This is one of the criteria on our health questionnaire form. One of the Exeter Township staff members will notify student athletes or musicians who may have been exposed to COVID-19 and provide guidance. Fellow student musicians may be sent home to self-quarantine for at least 14 days or until a confirmed negative test result is received. Other suggestions for recovery are as follows. Stay home. Most people with COVID-19 have mild illness and can recover at home without medical care. Do not leave your home except to get medical care. Do not visit public spaces. Take care of yourself. Get rest and stay hydrated. Take over-the-counter medicines such as acetaminophen to help you feel better. Stay in touch with your doctor. Call before you get medical care. Be sure to get care if you have trouble breathing or have any other emergency warning signs, or if you think it's an emergency. Avoid public transportation, ride sharing, or taxis. Please consult the Restarting Guide for information regarding all of the points that I have discussed tonight, plus more. Please also see Appendix A for a sample schedule for arrival and dismissal for rehearsals. Again, the idea is to stagger drop-off and pickups so that we do not have a lot of people in the parking lot at once, and also to help with social distancing. Please see Appendix B for the waiver acknowledgement form. The waiver states as follows. The COVID-19 pandemic has presented a myriad of challenges to students and families. This is a highly contagious virus that primarily attacks the upper respiratory system and can infect people of all ages. Some severe outcomes have been reported in children, and as a child with a mild or even asymptomatic case of COVID-19 can spread the infection to others who may be far more vulnerable. While it is not possible to eliminate all risks of furthering the spread of COVID-19, Exeter Township School District, ETSD, will take necessary precautions and comply with guidelines from the federal, state, and local governments, the CDC, the Pennsylvania Department of Health, as well as the National Federation for State High Schools, to reduce the risks to students, instructors, coaches, and their families. ETSD has created a comprehensive health and safety plan in order for student musicians and instructors to return to the activity. We ask all our instructors, student musicians, and families to read the ETSHS Restarting Guide to Marching Band and to view the online educational session that you are currently watching. As knowledge regarding COVID-19 is constantly changing, the Exeter Township School District reserves the right to adjust and implement precautionary methods as necessary to decrease the risk of exposure for our staff and students. By filling out this form, you acknowledge that you have attended the mandatory education session of procedures for voluntary rehearsals and have read the ETSHS Restarting Guide to Marching Band, which include the following key points. All students and staff will undergo a COVID-19 health screening upon arrival to all events. This will include a questionnaire and a temperature check. You will promise healthy hygiene habits that include hand washing, sanitizing, coughing into your elbow and avoiding touching your face. No handshakes, high fives, or other physical contact will be permitted. Social distancing will be encouraged through increased spacing, small groups, and limited mixed interactions where feasible. Any student or staff member who is ill will stay home. A plan has been provided should a student or staff member become sick. There will be regular communication as information continues to develop. All rehearsals are voluntary. All students and staff must provide their own water bottle capable of holding enough water for rehearsal. Personal protective equipment, including face masks and gloves, will be used as needed or when determined by state and local governments. Face coverings, as outlined, are to be used when appropriate. By signing this form, the undersigned acknowledges that they have read and understand the Exeter Township School District Restarting Guide and Health and Safety Plan for Marching Band, and willingly agree to comply with the stated recommendations put forth by ETSD to limit the exposure and spread of COVID-19 and other communicable diseases. They certify that the student is in or believes the student to be in good physical condition and allows for participation in marching band at their own risk. Failure to comply with this plan by student and or family member may result in immediate removal from the activity and possible suspension from future activities. Should you have any other questions for myself or Dr. Miner, please contact us at your earliest convenience. I hope that you found this video helpful, and I look forward to seeing you at rehearsal and making music with you. Have a great night.